Welcome to 6 for 60, the show where I tell you 6 things that I love about Star Trek in honor of the 60th anniversary of the franchise. So, tonight I just wanted to chat for a few minutes about first seasons. Um, Still kind of flustered over the fact that they've canceled Starfleet Academy after only one season. So I really thought, well, let's talk about first seasons for a second. And we know historically fans have complained every time a new iteration of Star Trek has come out. I don't know why we can't be happy, but we complain. Um, and I think that we can agree that for all of the series we have in the Star Trek franchise, it includes the exploration of new worlds, advanced technology, spaceships. It's the good guys always win, usually win. We have women working on the bridge, and we have various races and life forms as part of the bridge crew. Um, so then I started thinking about, okay, what else is different about the first seasons? Well, one of the biggest differences is that in the older shows, the first season, we had 26 episodes, whereas with this new Trek, we're only getting 10 episodes. And I think that makes it really difficult to develop the characters and to develop complex stories and plot lines. And I really think that's done a disservice to the franchise overall. Um, but anyway, so then we're going to jump into my 6 for 60. We're going to start with TOS. And the wonderful TOS had 29 episodes in the first season. It was amazing. It's the foundation upon which all of the 60 years has been built. And I really feel as though you have to compare all other shows to TOS and the foundations that they established. Now, some people argue against this and they say TOS was the inspiration and that later shows don't have to adhere to or follow the model that it set because it was just the inspiration and we're not trying to make cookie cutter shows afterwards. So I don't, whatever camp you fall into, that's on you, and that'll impact how you digest the rest of my thoughts on first seasons. So second on the list, is, of course, is TNG, which they had 26 episodes in their first season, and when it came out, I just assumed, this is the next in the line, and so it should be better than TOS. But just from my personal opinion, I feel like TNG was absolutely worse than TOS in a lot of ways. There was less diversity on the bridge with the bridge crew, and I think there was just a lot of racism and misogyny in that first season writing. It was just a lot I did not care for. I didn't love the pilot, Farpoint episodes 1 and 2. Code of Honor episode 4, absolute garbage. Injustice episode 8, where Picard has to rescue Wesley because he's going to be put to death for trampling some flowers. And when I saw that episode, I'm thinking to myself, you're the flagship of Starfleet. You're the flagship of the Federation. You're supposed to be the very best. And this is how you do first contact? There was no research. There was no discussion, no study, no exchange of histories or anything. And then you let this, random kid who's not an officer, he has no standing, you let this random goofball down on first contact. had a lot of issues. A lot of issues with TNG. Um, and then we get to the end of season 1 for TNG with Conspiracy, episode 25, where the top echelon, the leaders of the Federation, are taken over by these little worms controlling them. And then suddenly the worms are gone, and there's no mention of that afterwards. You know, folks are dead, your leaders are dead, incapacitated, they've been overcome by alien forces. And we roll into the next episode like none of this has happened. So that's TNG. First season. And then we get to my favorite, my second favorite behind TOS. DS9. They only had 20 episodes in their first season. And then later on they had 26 for their remaining seasons. And honestly, you know, I can find no fault with DS9. They were just absolutely amazing. I felt like they were just the pinnacle of Star Trek TV shows until you get to, you know, Move Along Home, episode 10. Everybody knows Olive Moraine. Nobody wants to play. And then if wishes were horses or something like that, episode 16, again, wasn't one of my favorites, but if that's the worst, you know, as far as first seasons go, again, DS9 is coming out on top. Again, these are just my personal opinions. Let me know in the comments if you agree, don't agree. But after the dip with TNG not being great as a follow-up to TOS in that first season especially, I think we just improved. You know, we generally did really well in our first seasons. We get to Voyager. Only had 16 episodes in the first season. And this is something I didn't realize. If you had asked me, I would have sworn I'd had 20 or 26 like the other shows. But they only had 16. There were 4 more, but they were moved to season 2. But again, I think Voyager's first season was absolutely amazing. And maybe it was because the entire show was a hard ship. You know, they didn't have to work to create conflict or to have moments for the crew to grow and develop. You know, they didn't have to like force relationships because there was so much going on. We had new religions and new political situations and new life forms. And it was just so much because they were just out there and no Federation to depend on. They were just out there by themselves. And in fact, Voyager season 1 had a lot of, well, I won't say a lot, but one of my most favorite episodes from Voyager, which is Emanations, episode 9. Again, check it out if you haven't seen it. And then Prime Factors, episode 10, where they are on the receiving end of this society's prime directive. So, you know, we're not the big cheese here. And the society has technology that could potentially send them home. And they're like, we don't share our technology with people who are not on our level. So, sorry, you're out of luck. So I like that little twist there. And again, all of Voyager season 1 was just amazing to me. And it was really wonderful. I think as far as first seasons go, I would say Voyager didn't have any bad episodes. But that's just me. So then we get to Enterprise. Again, 26 episodes in the first season. And other than the hysteria over the theme song having words, I think it was okay. Now, again, I have to admit I was one of those, and I wasn't writing bad things about them on the internet, But I wasn't particularly thrilled with Enterprise when it first came out because I felt like they were trying to give a lot of TOS's firsts to Archer. But once I got over it, Enterprise was also really good. So in that first season, I think they did a lot. They were creative. It was fun. You get gems like episode 5, Unexpected, where Tucker gets pregnant by alien by playing a game. I thought they just did a great job. Again, as far as first seasons go, I felt it was really wonderful. And then we get to Discovery. 15 episodes. Woo. Not a huge fan of Discovery. Love it because it's Trek. Appreciate it for what it is. But it was really different. And, it's pre-TOS. It took a lot of chances. It had a completely different feel to me from any other Star Trek show that had been produced, just as far as the tone, the pacing, the character interactions, the lighting, the camera work. To me, it just felt different. It felt very different. And we won't even talk about the new Klingons. I did appreciate all the new technology, though. But one of the biggest complaints I heard about Discovery in that first season, other than the whispering, and I should probably be whispering today. My voice is a little off. Allergies are doing wonderful things to me. But one complaint I heard was that they felt the entire show was unbelievable because we had a prisoner leading away missions and leading a crew. And I'm thinking, well, didn't we just have Tom Paris on Voyager as part of the bridge crew? And didn't we have Ro Laren in TNG? Both of those folks had been in prison and got pulled out of prison to go and serve. And Ro Laren was on the daggone flagship. So, I don't really think those were valid complaints. I mean, I guess they're valid for the people who were making the complaint. But I had a lot of other issues other than having, Michael as a war criminal leading things in Discovery. Pardon me. I didn't really talk at all about Prodigy or Lower Decks because they're animated and people just seem to hate them just because they're animated. And again, I think Lower Decks was darn near perfect. Love Lower Decks. Again, watch it if you haven't. And there were, a lot fewer complaints I felt about Strange New Worlds. But again, I love all Star Trek. And just personally, I've always felt that the complaints about racism and misogyny that we see in various iterations of Star Trek have never been as loud or as hard as the complaints about the wokeness or going against godly or American values. And I'm going to have to admit, I was definitely on my self-righteous soapbox when I started thinking about this episode. And then as I was drifting off to sleep, I don't know why, it just came to me how DeForest Kelley was actually convinced to accept a role in TOS. And that they basically explained it to him that it was a space western. And because he had previously just been in westerns, that was his thing. And so they just described TOS as a space western. And so I thought about it. People keep asking, why are folks even fans of Star Trek if they don't like all the woke pieces of it? But if you look at it, as a space western, then what you might see tough guys, overcoming the bad guys, the aliens. You might interpret the exploration for knowledge as a taming of the wild unknown. They might view meeting new life forms as conquering savage others. And, rather than looking for infinite diversity and infinite combinations, they're interpreting manifest destiny. It's their right to go out and homogenize things, make the Federation values and footprint be the standard, versus the infinite diversity and infinite combinations. I don't know. It made me just think a little bit. So rather than demonizing people who don't see the same things we see in Star Trek and trying to gatekeep Star Trek, I will try to be more understanding to see their viewpoints, how they might interpret the show, and hope, possibly, that by ingesting more good Trek, they might come to see some of the value that we see in the empathy, in the thirst for knowledge, in that desire for connection with others. And if we can see it a little bit their way, maybe they can see it a little bit our way, and we'll get one step closer to our beautiful Star Trek future. But anyway, those are my thoughts on the first seasons. Let me know your thoughts in the comments, and live long and prosper, dear friends.